Futurama and Disenchantment are definitely connected, and we will get into the major examples of how they're connected further in the video. But there is still some controversy over exactly how they are connected, with some people saying they can't be, and others just ignoring certain things that happen in the final chapters of Disenchantment and connecting them anyway. But in today's video, I'm going to try and meet in the middle with my theory on how exactly their whole connection was going to work. But hey, before we get into this video, guys, I'm trying to hit 1,100 subscribers. Last year, we actually had a goal to hit 1,000, and we made it. And this year, I'm trying to hit 1,100, and honestly, by the time I've actually gotten this video out, we've probably already hit that. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Maybe I would like to try and hit 200 subs, and that's 1,200. If you guys could help me out, that would be greatly appreciated, and let's go ahead and hop into this video. So to begin, let's look at what actually ties these two shows together. First off, in Season 1, Part 1, Episode/Chapter 10, Dreamland Falls, when Lucy is looking through a back-in-time globe, one of the images he sees is of the Professor, Bender, and Fry in their time machine from Season 7, Episode 7, The Late Philip J. Fry of Futurama, showing us that Disenchantment's story happens somewhere in the Futurama timeline. But also, there's quite a few Easter eggs and references to Futurama in the series, and don't worry, I'm not going to go over all of them, and mostly because I don't really have to. I have the links in the description to plenty of sources and videos that go over all of those. But a few of the more important ones that can help us place Disenchantment into the timeline are: in Season 1, Part 2, Episode 14/Chapter 14, The Lonely Heart is a Hunter, there is a holophoner sitting on a barrel. Season 1, Part 2, Episode 19, Chapter 19, The Electric Princess, one of the streets in Steamland is called Farnsworth Avenue. Also in Steamland, there is a sign for a airship company named Airship Express. In Season 2, Part 1, Chapter 21, Subterranean Homesick Blues, we see one of Farnsworth's doomsday devices in a treasure room. In Season 2, Part 2, Episode 16/Chapter 26, whatever you want to call it, What to Expect When You're Expecting, there is a Decapodian, or should I say kind of a more evolved Decapodian, in the background in a sunken ship. And for those of you that can't tell or don't know, a Decapodian is the alien species that Zoidberg belongs to. And then in Season 3, Episode 4, Chapter 44, I Hear You Noggin, But You Can't Come In, we see Hypnotoad locked up in the freak show. Big kitty. So now all of this hinted that this events of Futurama had already happened, and it was seemingly confirmed in Futurama's Season 11, Episode 6, I Know What You Did Last Xmas, when the professor is time traveling in order to fix Santa. Outside of the time machine's windows, we see briefly Bean, Elfo, and Lucy sitting in the room with the back-in-time globe and drinking. So one would think that this would be the end of any argument, but there are some problems that we are going to have to address. The first is that this is the last image we see when the professor is traveling back in time from the future, meaning it would be next in line when moving forwards. And after this, there is actually a giant bender destroying Planet Express. So the original crew has to have come back. The second is the fact that we see the world of Disenchantment in Season 3, Episode 10, Goodbye Bean, when Alva manages to leave the planet in his rocket, and it is clearly not Earth, and this is actually confirmed for us when from around the other side of the moon we do actually see Earth. And then the third is the fact that the time machine being used by Professor Farnsworth doesn't necessarily move through space. It stays in one place and moves through time. And I say necessarily because it sort of has to move through space with the planet, but I'm not really smart enough to explain that particularly well. But what it means is the machine didn't go to the other planet. But the final fact is that when Lucy is rewinding the ball to show past events, Bender, Fry, and the Professor appear before Bean is born, or at least when she is still a baby. We don't really know exactly when. So the big question you still have here is like, how will all this have worked? And luckily for us, though, there is one other reference in Futurama that can sort of tie it all together, and that is in Futurama Season 12, Episode 10, Otherwise, where we are shown a bunch of different realities when the crew is trying to escape from the graveyard of ships, which is the plasma sea at the bottom of the multiverse. We actually see Dreamland Castle in one of the possible multiverses. So we know that Disenchantment is actually part of the Futurama multiverse for sure. So here's my theory on how all of this will eventually be connected. And it's actually really simple. We were being set up for two separate crossovers, one that never happened that we actually saw, and one that might potentially happen in the future. So the first one we'll never see was actually going to fall more in line with the Simpsons Futurama crossover, Simsorama, in season 26, episode 6 of The Simpsons. See, for a long time, we weren't sure if Futurama was going to get a new season, and that was the only new Futurama media we had gotten after the final episode in the series, season 10, episode 13, Meanwhile. So, more than likely, the writers were hoping to be able to do something like this with Disenchantment by setting it somewhere in the Futurama timeline, most likely in the future based off of all the Easter eggs, and it might have started with Fry, Bender, and the Professor trying to find the backwards time machine, since the model they appear in the episode can only go forwards, or they just kind of stopped at that particular point, saw no one, and continued on. But the fun part is, this would have been the original universe we were in before the Hulu reboot, and it would have been the one they were in where they weren't frozen in time for 10 years, and we probably wouldn't have gotten shown the Earth at the end of Disenchantment. They would have just said, oh, no, this guy left the Earth, made it to the moon, and did whatever he was going to do there, or, like, contacted alien species that he knew were still out there. It could have just, been slightly rewritten so that way you just don't see Earth come around the side of the moon. But the second theory comes in because Futurama did end up getting rebooted, with it airing its first new season the same year as Disenchantment's last season. So it would make sense that Disenchantment should just cross over onto Futurama, and they've kind of sort of done that with putting it into the multiverse. And I think it would possibly happen in season 13 or season 14, since those are confirmed seasons at this point, because the events that happen after they show up during the time travel scene still have not happened yet with the giant Bender. And I think they're going to make it another multiverse episode, maybe one where we see how the Disenchantment world was created, or maybe the crew just ends up there through some sciencey mishap with two worlds mashing together. That way the time travel scene makes sense, switching to the Disenchantment world and then switching back. And my guess where that is going to fall in the Disenchantment timeline is probably in season 2, since the trio is still together. Lucy is still alive, so it can't be in season 3, and they're just relaxing on the castle drinking, which I know happens a lot, but the back in time globe has not been broken. And that actually happens in season 3, episode 5 / chapter 45, Who Shot Elfo. Also, putting it there would mean they would already know about Steamland, and they've actually seen a talking puppet, so Bender might not actually freak them out quite as much. Another fun thing they could do is by putting it into the multiverse, they could actually bring us in with the Simsorama timeline, and then you could have Fry and the Professor stopping here, remembering it, and then them going back somehow, and that would have allowed enough time to pass, accounting for the 10 years in the Hulu saga, to where you could actually see some good development with all the characters in that one, and just kind of show you, hey, this is in fact a different universe in the Hulu timeline. And I think that would almost be more cool than just kind of lumping them in with the new universe that we've been following. That is just me putting everything we've seen together so far, as well as me really wanting this to happen. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you guys want to see these two shows actually have a crossover? Is there any other evidence I missed that either disproves my theory or could add to my theory? It's all just fun down in the comments, and let's just have a great discussion. But also, while you guys are down there, please remember for me to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you never miss another video from me, and I will see you guys in the next video.